Christmas time is coming, so I have to spew out all of the negativity that I have in my body before the festive time is here, which is why in today's video I will give you all one negative thing for every ATP Top 30 player. Starting off with Frances Tiafoe, and all in all the whole 2025 season was a negative for the American apart from the quarterfinal run at the French Open, but the most unfortunate part about this year was the fact that he didn't even deliver at the US Open. The previous 3 years his results were great, the atmosphere that he was creating on the grounds was one of a kind, but this year he lost in the third round to Jan-Lennard Struff, and that simply broke me. Next up it's Artur Rinderknecht, and for him the negative is kinda the positive at the same time, but the fact that he played his best professional tournament ever at the Shanghai Masters and he still wasn't even the best tennis player in his family those 2 weeks is pretty funny, to be honest. And I know that reaching the final is still an incredible feat for someone ranked outside of the top 50, but it must sting a bit that his last 2 Masters tournaments of the year were ended by his cousin Valentin Vacherov. Leonard Sien ended the year in 28th position in the rankings, and it's hard to find a negative for a teenager who ended the year in the top 30 when not many expected for it to happen. But the only, I guess, worrying thing that I observed this year is that he is a bit shit on clay. Obviously he's still young and he will probably improve on this surface, but in 2025 Leonard Sien was an absolute non-factor on clay. Following him it's Cam Norrie, and the negative for him is that nobody ever remembers anything about him. I know that it sounds disrespectful, but Norrie is the most he's just there guy on the tour right now. And the thing is, he's obviously a solid player, but at the same time he's just so unremarkable that it's hard to remember anything that he did in 2025. Honestly speaking, Luciano Darderi had a very good season, and the only thing that I would say is a negative is that he plays too much, and he just has to address the fact that he's playing too many tournaments in a year. For comparison, Tiafoe played 22 tournaments this season, Darderi played 35, and that's a huge difference, which is why I fear that his body won't be able to withstand such load if he does the same next year. Following is Talon Griekspoor, and at the start of the season I ranked Talon in the top 3 of the most entertaining players on tour, and throughout the season he showed to me that I was wrong for doing that. His tennis wasn't that entertaining this season, and when he is not playing entertaining tennis he becomes just a guy on tour that nobody really cares about. Next up is Joao Fonseca, and again he is in a similar situation as Leonard Sien, but the one glaring negative about Joao's season was the way in which he let the Brazilians down at the Rio Open. I understand that he will have at least 15 chances to redeem himself in his career, but when the world was watching, when the world was expecting something special from the Brazilian and the local fans, Joao lost in the first round against Alexander Müller, which was not what everyone was hoping for. I'm not even joking when I say this, but Denis Shapovalov was one of the hardest ones to find a negative for because he's so unbelievably shit, yet somehow he still is just outside of the top 10, which is just crazy. So I guess the negative is the same as it always is. His tennis IQ is on the level of a 12-year-old, and the only reason why he wins matches is because of his undeniable God-given talent that he possesses. Following him is Flavio Cobolli, and the start and the end of the season for the Italian were complete polar opposites. Clinching Davis Cup victory for the incredible Italian three-peat is a high that cannot be replicated, but we cannot forget about the atrocious start of the season that Flavio had. Starting off the year 0-7 at the tour level tournaments put him in the hole that he had to dig out of for the remainder of the year. He did end the year just outside of the top 20, but only if he had locked in at the start of the season. In 21st is Francisco Cerundolo, and having a 3-4 record at the Grand Slams in 2025 is criminal, to be honest, and there is not much to say about Francisco apart from that. Next up is Tommy Paul, and playing through injury derailed his whole season. If he had taken better care of the problem right at the start, I'm sure it would have worked out better for the American, but now he's just barely a top 20 player and he should be much higher in the ranking. I feel like in 2025 Jakub Menchik believed in his own hype a bit too much, match, especially after that Miami Masters win, and this may be a hot take, but I just don't think that he's as good as people are projecting him to be. So be ready to see him lingering around the top 20 for all of his career. Yeah, Karan Khachanov is consistent and all that, but until he beats anyone of note on those consistent runs, nobody will actually give a fuck, sorry to tell you that. 1-6 record against the top 10 in 2025, 16-58 record overall against the top 10 shows that Karan will simply be a perpetual top 15, top 20 player in the world, and there is no reason to consider him as a threat at any big tournaments. In 17th, it's Jiří Lehečka, and having more losses than wins at the Masters tournaments in 2025 is kinda crazy for a top 20 player. Jiří needs to get his shit together for the next season. In 16th, it's Andrei Rublev, and there are clear signs of stagnation, and unless Safin performs miracles on him, going down lower in the rankings is imminent. Next is Holger Rune, and for him every negative pales in comparison to his Achilles injury that he suffered in Stockholm that is going to sideline him for the whole 2026 season. I mean, things cannot go much worse, can they? In 14th, it's Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, and he still has no titles. Following him is Daniil Medvedev, and it's time to accept the fact that Daniil has become an insufferable watch and that things are only going to get worse. In 12th is Casper Ruud. What the fuck is that? I remember there was a time when Alexander Bublik joked about the fact that Ruud was a 250 merchant, but now Bublik has become a 250 merchant himself, which in his own worldview makes him a joke, which is ironic and in a way really poetic. For Jack Draper, this one is easy. The negative for the Brit is that he is still injury prone. Jack seemingly worked through the fitness issues during the matches, but the body is just simply not holding up, and it's unfortunate because he was undeniably a top 4 player this season when he was playing. Big match Ben Shelton is becoming more of a myth than reality, and the 4-21 record against the players who were at the ATP finals this year proves it. Not to shit on him too much, but it feels like his clutch moments come in matches against Lorenzo Sonego types of players, but when the pressure is on against the big time players, Ben kinda crumble. I mean, just look at the ATP final. Second set tiebreak loss against Zverev was kinda insane, and the loss against Felix Auger-Aliassime happened because he was not clutch enough. So in 2026, Shelton needs to prove to the world that he is indeed big match Ben, because right now it's not really the case. Lorenzo Musetti is scarily close to gaining the reputation of someone who cannot be considered a contender for any title just because he's incapable of winning in the finals. Obviously, he's a great player, but losing 6 finals in a row is kinda crazy. To preface, overall I think that Alex de Minaur is a huge overachiever, but him not being able to hold his serve against Musetti to win the match at the ATP finals that could have resulted into him reaching his career high by overtaking Taylor Fritz and Felix Auger-Aliassime is pretty disappointing. And I feel like the opportunity to do something like that again might not present itself that soon. It may be recency bias, but the way Taylor Fritz shit the bed against the previously mentioned Alex de Minaur at the ATP finals overshadows any other negative that he had this season. The guy missed out on hundreds of ranking points and hundreds of thousands of dollars just because he forgot how to play tennis against the Australians. Starting off the top 5, it's Felix Auger-Aliassime, and this was the career best season for the Canadian rankings wise, but if we are being truthful, he was abysmal at the Grand Slams this year. Of course, the US Open run was great and kinda out of nowhere, but bowing out to players like Davidovich Fokina, Arnaldi and Struff at the majors with 2 of those matches being losses from being 2 sets up is a bit embarrassing. Sure, the final result of the season was great, but it does seem like Felix missed opportunities that he should have taken to earn an even higher position in the rankings. This was the last season where Novak Djokovic had a chance to win the 25th Grand Slam. Was the chance a minuscule one? Absolutely, but at his age there is no way that the possibility of him winning the last big one is going to increase. So I fear that Djokovic's Grand Slam count will stop at 24. Starting off the top 3, it's Alexander Zverev. Not to beat on a dead horse, but there is just no way that he will win a Grand Slam tournament. The experts will always have him as one of the contenders for the majors just because they have to. And they don't want to write off the world number 3 because it makes the sport look bad, but the reality is that he will always be a pretender rather than a contender. Now let's talk about Jannik Sinner, and no matter how great he played this season, no matter how many opponents he destroyed on the court, no matter how many titles he won in 20 years time, people will remember this 2025 season for one of the greatest matches of all time at the French Open between Alcaraz and Sinner. But more importantly, this match will be remembered because we witnessed one of the most unthinkable chokes in Grand Slam finals history. And obviously, as we all remember, Jannik was the one who let the victory slip away. He should have won 3 Grand Slams this season. He should have been the year-end world number 1, but he wasn't, and it's mostly due to his choke at the French Open. And finally, the negative for our year-end rankings leader Carlos Alcaraz is the fact that even with Jannik Sinner being suspended for months and him not playing numerous Masters tournaments, Alcaraz only secured his number 1 spot at the ATP finals, which is a bit too close for comfort. And realistically speaking, if Sinner was at those tournaments, Alcaraz's top spot would be in huge danger. I know that I ruffled some feathers with this video, but let me know in the comments which take pissed you off the most. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, take it easy, my friend.